Marine lighting. Bit of a taboo subject. I was going to do a kind of ranty video about this because, well, I actually did do a ranty video, and when I watched it back I thought this is probably going to upset quite a lot of people. So I've reframed it and I'm going to do a video about alternatives to marine lighting, because my opinion on marine lighting is really that the price you pay for a marine light and the benefits of what you get compared to a aquarium light is very slim in my opinion, and I think that the major retailers of marine spec aquarium lighting are taking the massive P with what they give you versus what they charge you. And that was basically the basis of my ranty video. But we're not going to do a ranty video. We're going to do a video on alternatives to expensive reef lights. And, you know, they have their place, don't they? So let's have a little look at the lighting that I'm running and we can discuss a bit further. So to start, I'm not shy of using expensive lights. These are Orphec bars. And they weren't cheap. I think they were £250, £300 each. I've got a daylight one and I've got a reef one. Would I buy them again? Absolutely not. I don't really think they are that great. Macroalgae sort of grows underneath it. You get a nice blue hue to it and they look pretty nice, don't they? Let's have a look at them. Now I realise these may not be the newest model. I'm not sure, I don't keep up with them. We've got very apparently high quality LEDs, lots of different colours, so on and so forth. Aluminium finish, they're very heavy, and when I do a lux meter underneath them, they give out great lux, you know. And that's not a measure of power, obviously, that's just the brightness. But people rave about them, people love them, they use them to grow aquaporas, they use them to grow all sorts of things. And brilliant, you know, great for them. But would I buy them again? No, because I don't think they're very good value for money. You know, I've used cheaper lights on my tanks, and we'll go through that later. And I get far better results from other lights than these expensive reef lights. And I'm not just singling out Orphec, it's just they're the ones that I own. I've used other reef lights of varying different price ranges. I've also experienced the results from different lights, and I could say that yes, some are better than others. Expensive is a bit of a weird thing, because what's expensive to me is not expensive to you, and to other people could be out of reach completely. So, you know, I think anything over £300 or so per light unit is going to be expensive, even though it's probably not in the reefing world, is it? We could go up to thousands when it comes to reef lights. But what's the alternative? Well, lots of other brands are bringing out really nice lights, and if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Night Crew, you know, budget lights. I'm a big fan of Hygge as well, which I've got over here, or Hygge, however you want to say it. And these are just generic aquarium lights. So no, they're not reef lights. And some people will then argue, well, if they're not a reef light, you don't get that blue hue, you don't get the fluorescence on your corals. And I would counter that with saying it depends on which light you buy, because obviously these ones are freshwater plant spectrum. Despite the fact I'm growing marine macroalgae with them, they are freshwater plant spectrum. But there is a range of similarly priced lights. I'm talking about £40 to £50 lights, maybe £60, you know, when you get to Hygge lights, that have different colours. So you can get the deep blue colour and you can match it with a plant spectrum light, and you can get that nice 12,000K sort of mixed spectra. And you don't need to spend £5, £6, £8, £1,000 on these lights. So why, I'm getting into rant mode again, why do the aquarium industries that focus on reef-based products charge you that much? Well, let's take a light which is just about teetering on the expensive, but I still think it's in that sort of lowish range, maybe mid-range for reef tanks, and that's the Fluval C range. This thing's packed full of features. We've obviously got touch buttons, but we've got an app. We can program it, we can set up the different spectra, We can do anything we like basically in terms of timings and spectra and everything. It's all done by our phone and it's great. I like the functionality. But aside from that, do I actually think that the LEDs themselves provide any better growth or coloration than the cheaper LEDs that I've just shown you, like the Higger and the Night Crew? Other brands are available. And I would argue that they actually don't. They really don't. I mean, from the top here, this Regal tank is looking pretty stunning. But you do get similar coloration from cheaper LEDs. And I like Fluval, let's put it this way. You know, Fluval are on my list of brands I really like and I support. So, if you double the price of this, triple the price of this, then you're into the REEF cost of lights. I think once you get to that price, I want them to be doing something really special for me, other than just being able to grow corals. And it's actually a lie that you need these lights to grow corals. Case in point, we've got a Duncan's coral here. Now, okay, it looks quite pale. Fair enough, but I'm not arguing about coloration. And as I've mentioned, the reason it's looking pale is because I'm using, I think, around 8,000 to 10,000 K lights, so it's not going to fluoresce. Here's the tubes I'm using. These are, I think they're Arcadia LED T5 replacement bulbs. I mean, they're not cheap in my mind. I think they're about £34 each, and they're just a generic spectra. There's no blue in them. I think they're like 10,000 K, and they're growing corals. They're growing Xenia. We got Duncans, we got polyps, we got a massive blasto here, and that's kind of my point. You don't need to spend all this money on really expensive fancy gadgets. If you want to, crack on. You know, you've obviously got enough to sort of do that, but the message that's getting out is that you have to, and that's what led me down a bad rabbit hole in my last attempt at this video, because you really don't have to. You can really be quite conservative these days when it comes to LED lights. Having worked in the aquatics industry previously for a decade, I actually was in the industry when there were no LEDs really for aquariums. They were far too expensive to put on an aquarium, and I worked from the point where they didn't really exist to where they'd just come out to, you know, a couple of years ago where they're basically on every single aquarium. You don't get tube lights on them anymore. And the reason that they're on every single aquarium is because they've come down in cost. They're no longer that really new, exciting product, that sort of premium cutting edge of technology. But what's not come down in cost is the price of REEF lights. And that's surprising, because if the thing you're using, i.e. LEDs, has come down in cost, surely then the price of the unit should come down in cost. But it's not the case. So I think REEF stuff, specifically in this case lighting, is a lot like when you get married. So I don't know if you've got any experience, but when you're shopping around for wedding stuff, it is often twice, 3 times, 4 times the price of the same stuff that isn't branded as wedding. And I think that's exactly the same as REEF lighting. Okay, there are some nice lights, and the units are fancier and more upmarket, let's say, than a lot of the general freshwater aquarium stuff. So I get there's a value in that. There's a value in all of that stuff. But the value in it isn't worth the premium that's then put on top of it for the fact that you're branding it as a REEF light. That's my problem. And it puts a lot of people off the hobby, because suddenly, rather than having to spend 50 quid on a nice LED, you go into a shop, and a lot of the time, okay, people are going to go in the comments and go, my shop doesn't tell me that, but a lot of the time salesmen are there to sell, and when you go, oh, I want to set up a REEF tank, they'll go, wow, how much money can I milk out of this guy or woman? And they're going to try and tell you that you need special lights, you need skimmers, you need this, that and the other, and it's because it's a REEF tank that you need all this stuff. And it's so off-putting. And that's kind of my ethos, really, is it should be you work up to those lights if you want it. You can start off using cheaper stuff, and it's pretty obvious that it's possible. If you look at this tank, we've got corals in here, we've got fish in here with nice coloration. We've got an anemone and all sorts of stuff's going on in here. All healthy, all under less than £100 of cheap LEDs from Amazon, and also running, okay, an expensive canister filter. But this setup's far cheaper than what they're trying to push onto you if you said you wanted a reef tank. So what's my point? What I'm actually trying to say to you here, the point is, if you are setting up a nice new tank, don't try and emulate this kind of thing, because actually you'd probably be disappointed. You can just as easily start your tank using generic aquarium LEDs. Nothing wrong with a £50 light from Amazon.